Hello, darling. What's up? Mara's here tonight. I'm so excited. We're about to learn about Immaculate Conception. I've been waiting months for this. I would love to do that, be able to see that, but I can't. I cannot. Not yet. Oh, yeah, she's so awesome. Can you hear me better when I do that than this? All right, spot check. Can you hear me better this way? Does it actually get louder when I do it like that? Is that louder? Because I turned the volume up, and I don't know if that makes a difference in the audio. Oh, good to know. Thank you. Let me see here. I have 2 from Mara. So we're going to hit both of them up. How's your day, ma'am? I wasn't sure that Mara was going to be here, but she confirmed today. And I have no idea what I'm hitting buttons for. So she said, so yes. All right, I should not have done that. I'll just do it that way. It's got like a bullseye on there now. Boy, I get myself in trouble. Oh, maybe that's what happens. I don't know. Okay, go pen. I don't really think we need to do that. So for months, I've had questions for her, but of course I did not write them down. I'm big about that, but I've screenshotted, and then I got a new phone, and I was like, it'll flow. I know it'll flow. Cause she don't even need a prompt. It's the same. I'll be getting in trouble. Oh, I just found out I got a fan club too, Jenny Lane. I know you got one if I got one. Up, she's here. She's here. Mara! I've been waiting for so long for this. How are you?
Good. I'm doing super well. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
You can hear me, right? Yes, I'm doing well. Just give me 1 second. I have to get my vision devices. Otherwise, I'm as blind as a bat.
Oh, I just said that. We're fine. I'm so tired. I've been working days in a row, so I'm chilling in my recliner. Just no hurry.
I'm back.
Jenny Lane's here.
Yes. All the beeps.
What is that? You polishing something? Is that a scope? That's a big scope. I love it.
You haven't seen the other one. The other one is like that big.
Oh my gosh. Yes, indeed. Well, I didn't tell you my son got deployed like 3 days ago.
What's that? What? Say that again?
My son got deployed.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So all them topics I'm big on. I was like, I just say, Rose.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, I know. But I mean, when he was 17 and signed on, that's
It's
epic.
like this. But this is the same that I was just showing you now, but it's like that big without the shade guard, the light guard. Anyway, do you know where he's going, if I may?
No, we don't. That's 3. There's, of course, 3 places. It could be Russia. It could be Middle East, or it could be the Israeli. So I, of course, am doing my little digging, and I saw that some 52s were spotted on satellite. But when he was 17 and knew this is what he wanted to do, we had this discussion, and we, of course, back then it wasn't nothing, like everything was kosher. And then here we are. So he's got a good job, though.
That's important. That's important. To have a good job is important.
Yeah.
At least he's seeing you know, the retribution of his efforts. I mean, money wise and whatever, or benefits wise, blah blah blah. But
Well, he's
it's
got a
always
new
worse.
baby though. He's got a
Really?
lovely too, so he
Oh
ain't
my
had to
gosh!
leave nowhere, not for training or nothing with a baby.
Damn.
Yeah, so she's on. I said I'm coming down there. If he ain't back in a month and a half, I'm going to visit.
Oh Lord.
Yeah,
Oh Lord.
yeah.
Well, but
So,
I hope. Yeah, I'm positive things will work out and he'll be fine. You know, blah
oh
blah
yeah,
blah. Everything will be just like you said, kosher. Nothing to worry about. Life will be good.
yeah. He always loved it. His drill sergeant said he would have been the first choice for his pick of the litter if the one that got his pick of the litter choice showed up with his clothes in a bag, like a Winn Dixie bag.
Oh
Like
God.
the dude just showed up. He's
Oh
like,
Jesus.
yeah.
Walls. That's literally LOL. Oh my gosh. It's just putting this guy away because I'm not gonna be using it for quite some time.
So you go target practicing or what?
Yeah, I do. I actually do PRS, precision rifle sport.
What'd you call it? Oh, that's good.
PRS, precision rifle sport.
Oh,
So it's like hunting, but without the hunt.
uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, my oldest son's into shooting.
He is.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's a great sport. I
We can
mean,
shoot now.
you
We can
can.
shoot. We love it.
Oh wow,
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Probably not
Well,
like as good as you, but
no, definitely. I suck. BBH, I suck.
I doubt that.
But yeah, no, that's really cool. I don't know a lot of people that do it. Most people freak out.
Yeah.
It's like, oh my god, blah blah blah. It's like Second Amendment. So I'm like, just shut up,
I heard that.
go away, right?
Whenever I was moving into the like a neighborhood over from my big house to a little house I actually got from my son, but we swapped. He gets this shotgun, okay, and I'm telling you, this little trailer house is about not wide enough to even almost fit a shotgun in, okay? Am I supposed to say that on here? I'm so redneck. And he says, "Mom, I'm home from work. Okay, I got these cork heels on." And he goes, "Mom, I want you to shoot this. I want to make sure." So we go out in the field. I'm like, "Son, I can shoot. Okay, I can do it." And so I shot right away. Did it. He goes, "Wow." I said, "Man, it's the sound. I didn't want to feel that feeling, and I didn't want to hear that sound." Okay.
It's like, uh-uh. It's interesting because at the range where I go, it's like most of the people fired like little 22s, like 22 long range type of thing. So it's like a firecracker, right? And it's like beep, beep.
Yeah, yeah.
And all of a sudden, there's this guy with this giant, massive 308 shotgun, and I'm just like minding my own business. Oh my god, I almost pooped myself. It was like,
I know. I
when
know.
it's
You did that
when it's
sound amazingly well.
yeah, it's like
Josh, I shot a 44 once and pulled knocked broke my whole thumbnail.
you know what I mean? Exactly. It's like no, that's just too much.
It's too much. This
I
thing
need to
here.
be, I need to be with my little baby.
She
All right,
said I can't
okay.
stand the sound. I know.
Hmm.
I've always
You know
been
what?
frightened of you already without guns.
Well,
Probably mom said that to you.
Mars was, yeah, perpetual surprise with me. And some people say, it's like, oh my God, right? And what? Yes, I Indo pew pews. I can say, I mean, it's fun. I don't know. I mean, I just imagine certain faces, you know?
Dude, it reminds me of this of that movie. Did you ever see The Upside Down of Anger? The movie?
Have not. With
Oh my
whom?
gosh. Okay, so it's great, but the mom has these daughters, and this daughter brings she's like 18, and she brings home this like 45-year-old dude, okay? And
Oh,
they're at
God.
yes, they're at the table, and she gets this vision of boom, and his head just pops
Oh,
up.
my God.
And the next thing, it was just a vision. It was like not really real. It looked they made it look as if that was actually really happening in the scene. But it wasn't. She was just imagining.
LOL. Oh. Oh,
What?
my God.
It was funny.
That is funny. Actually, that is funny.
Yeah, it was. And it stuck with me, boy. I was like, that really kind of is how it goes when you imagine stuff like that. Um,
Yeah, I think so.
so Soul's Journey says she needs to learn how to use one of those things. We're gonna have a weekend at Mara's. We can do it.
You can definitely do it for sure. So
So
now,
about that
yes,
video, look,
I am
about
so
that
sorry.
video. No,
Yes,
let me tell you, I was so glad to see that somebody wasn't afraid to put out some of the stuff that's so taboo, because there wasn't an open door for me to talk about what really happened to me. But I didn't know I got when I married into what I married into. I married into that, and he broke both my legs, and they let that shit happen. Yeah.
shut up.
Yes, that's why I was like, oh yeah, this is gonna be yeah.
Yeah, we
So
can
it was
definitely
just like
talk.
things, huh?
We can definitely talk about that for sure.
Yeah, I told them I'm calling the Black Panthers next time. I told them they better. I said send rank.
Come on, come on. Yeah, no, I got you. I feel totally. I feel you. Uh,
It was quite the awakening.
well, you know what? Now that you mention that keyword, I think it's happening. You saw that thing about that? There's this woman in that's in Minneapolis, I think, and they're in a playground, and then there's this little kid that takes her son's or her child's toy, and then she gets all worked up because it's like the baby is crying, and now this kid took my toy, and then she comes to grab it, and she grabs the toy and starts calling this kid the N word. I mean, these are like 5-year olds in front of everyone in that park. You, no, 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 N word, whatever. That's why you are the way you are. I mean, it's like a bunch of slurs and stuff. So there's a guy recording him, what, right? And he calls her out. So she gets all belligerent, blah, 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 gives him the finger, and says the N word several times. And she, leaves with her child. This guy just does what anyone would do, just posts the story, and several people pick it up. Knows that kind of like TikTok helped me find this person. Well, this person opened a GoFundMe, and I think it said, um, "I need to defend myself." So she kind of tells the story of what happened, and I think she collected something in the first 3 days, $500,000.
Wow.
And the guy that was posting the story, he's gotten death threats. He's gotten hate mail. He's gotten crap bags. I mean, they've keyed his car. So, because he got dogs, right? Um, and since he has like I think I think it's an Eastern, Middle Eastern last name, like an Arab last name, I think. So then people are making that association. They're like literally hating on this guy. So it looks like a little
Yeah, it's
heart.
perfect.
Um, So it's like to your point, it, it's like the awakening, but the awakening is backwards. You know what I
Oh,
mean? It's like people
yes.
are celebrating this sort of behavior. I mean, it's like I don't know where it ends. You know what I mean? It's like
I do.
you're married into that stuff,
Yeah.
not knowing.
And let me tell you, he was working for the popo, and I didn't know. And it was bad, boy. We went into the because I was a mom and landed into this. I don't know if I'm like, can I say drug world? I'm gonna say drug world. I mean drug world, okay. And it was bad, heavy stuff, all every which direction. And every time we would get into a dynamic, that person would get busted, and I didn't know. I was just another cover until I realized what was going on. And so he was getting away with doing all that physical violence to me and everything because he was working for them. Yep.
That is not
Oh
cool.
yeah. I had no help, you hear me? So I was just like, I'm gonna just keep rocking and rolling. That's what I did. Here we are.
That sucks. I am so sorry. That really sucks.
Oh yeah, it was something else. But I fought every single one of them, but I did, I did in the school board. I did get to say that. I was a nervous wreck. I was telling my story and I was saying like, you can't do that
Yeah, I did. God damn it, I did.
here.
Yeah,
So
I
I did. I
mean,
look back, I'm like, oh my God, that really happened to me.
Jesus, I'm sorry.
That's
That is
okay. I
like
mean,
really hard. Damn.
it was rough to not have anybody you could trust.
How do you break away from it? I mean, what did you do? I mean, was it like just muster
I
the courage,
how
or
did I break away from it? Oh my God. A neighbor, like somebody that lived on my street took me in. And after that, he ended up going too far, and he was looking at 30 years for what he did to me. And they they put him in for 6 months and gave him a permanent no contact order for me.
okay,
So because I called him out on it. I called him out. When he was doing it, I was on video hollering, "You little yeah." So they they were onto it because they knew that he was doing that to me, and he was still collecting all what they needed for their busts and stuff, and doing that to me simultaneously.
yeah, that's oh my god,
Hmm.
oh my god. I mean, you're like, wow.
I just laid low. That's why when y'all hear me say that,
You got my respect. Oh my god, that must have been like super hard.
it
It's
was
like
like a movie. It was like living in one of them movies when you're telling them this is what's happening and nobody's believing you. It was like that. It was like I had to look at it like an adventure.
well, I tell you, you know what? Anything and whatever thing may have happened to me is like, it's like child's play in comparison. I would have never imagined. Like literally, I would have never imagined. Holy Jesus!
It was rough.
But you're,
Oh yeah, look, let me get that arm out.
you see, that's what I'm talking about.
That's lifting that ice at Chili's.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
I be doing my pull curls.
There you go.
So,
Uh
I want to
huh.
talk when you get settled and ready. I want to hear everything about that immaculate conception. There's so many topics that I want to hear from you that I
Of
just love
course. I
to hear.
mean, I'm already settled, so um, it's fascinating, to me at least, to know that there are some possibilities out there that people reject because in their mind it can distort certain narratives, right? So this is about biology. It's like, well, if people can be born that way, then it means that the whole thing about who is who and what is what changes. Because it opens the door to possibilities. Not the probability, because the probability is tiny, but it exists. So from I think they started tracking in 75, there's actually a task force that is looking for those cases. And from 75 till 2024, they had properly identified, which means they checked, they tested, they look, it's not like someone claimed to be, that actually happened. 24 cases. 24 cases of involuntary self impregnation in humans with
Around the
kids
world.
around the world. There is actually a region in India, and there's another region in Africa, northern Africa, that where the number. So kind of like I would say from Libya through Algiers all the way through Egypt, that band. I think there were 8 cases, and the other 14 or 15 cases, whatever. It was 24. So it's kind of like the difference are from northern India, between India and China, that little triangle. Um, and it's fascinating just to think about the probability, right? The possibility is there, but just to think about the probability, the number of humans that have been born since 1975 until today, till last year, is not 8 billion births. You know what I mean? It's like a whole bunch of people have been born, like born, like I don't know, 14 billion. So 24 out of 14 billion, I think, if I recall correctly, that's the number. So it's like super rare, but it happens. So now, if you take that experience with the, hi Jenny, sorry, I didn't say hello to Jenny before. So as rare as that might be, right? Imagine that the Virgin Mary had that experience.
Question. So, with these 24 cases, is that over the course of 100 years or 50 years or how many
From
years?
from 75, right? So it'll be 50 years,
Oh,
49
really?
years.
Okay, okay. So now that we know that that could happen, we don't know how many cases there were back then, and that could have been the only one, but could have been more, and then one took. But what if, I ain't saying there's another Messiah, I'm just theorizing here
Of course.
because um I do believe that the Messiah came a long time ago, unless my mind is just psyched up for that, because
Of
I do believe
course.
in the faith that I feel and what I know and what got me through it, my hope. But at the same time, the Jewish that don't believe that the Messiah came already and still waiting for him to come, could there be another aspect? Do you ever think of stuff like that? Because let me add this in, the anti-intellectualism, because I like intellectualism. I had to look that up. I said, let me look that up because I don't even know what that means. But I was like, I know what intellectualism is. And when I looked it up properly, it's going against people who are smart. Like, yeah. So I love people who are smart that way. So that's why I'm really intrigued by this. So folding that part in, is that something that could be coming in the future, like another? What I
The,
mean,
the, well, the thing is, we have advanced our knowledge and our access to information in such a vast and incredibly broad way, right? Yeah, not the street Broadway, but kind of like uh, that. I don't think it would be possible because there have been already 24 instances. There could have been more. They're just not being tracked. But of all the kids that have been born and those that have come forward with an involuntary pregnancy or involuntary self pregnancy, 24 have been real, right? Um, all the babies are male, all of them, no exception. And all of the babies are not, they're infertile. They're fully functional. They have everything they need to have, but they cannot bear children because there's a genetic defect that prevents them. Since it's the same sequence of chromosomes, it's a clone,
wow,
right?
yeah.
But it's not an identical clone because if there's like different. DNA loads depending on which egg and which sperm make the connection, but it's genetically speaking, it's like an identical person. So you could claim that the baby is the same person as the parent, just an extension.
Wow.
So this sounds kind of like sci-fi, all weird and whatever,
I'm game though.
right? But to me, it's like it's mind blowing because maybe the Messiah has already come.
Mhm.
Maybe it came in 2020 or 1914 with World War One, or maybe I don't know, August 3rd of 1939. Who the hell knows, right?
Mhm.
I'm sorry, who the heck knows?
Yeah.
But we would not believe it because a we believe in intellectualism, so there must be an explanation,
Mhm.
and b the anti-intellectualist movement rejects those ideas.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
So it's kind of like, well, when the Messiah comes again, it's because it's the end of the world. So the world has to end. That's the anti-intellectualist perspective. It's called apocalyptic views of the future, or apocalyptic view of the world, or worldview. For them to Messiah, for them, in order for the Messiah to come back, we have to end. It has to be the rapture. It's the only way that can happen. So it's like the world hasn't ended. So
So
it's not possible.
yeah, okay. So these women, do they just
They're not women.
wait, what?
They're not women.
Wait, so the babies that are born, the male
They're
children that are born infertile are from men?
no either. These are humans that have the two sets of gametes. They produce eggs, right? And they produce sperm. They look like females, but genetically they have an extra X.
Oh my gosh.
Fucked up.
So they impregnate themselves.
An immaculate conception.
Now?
Right? I'm like,
Wow. Wow.
it's such a
But
wild.
it go back to what has the parents having both of them to start with? You said the regions, India and somewhere else. Like what?
Somewhere in northern Africa, right?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, okay. So this is just something I want to just throw out to you because you might know, and it's little seeds I gather along the way. Okay, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
put stuff together. But I listened to this guy, and he's talking about the map is upside down. And I asked him out about the globe being flat. This ain't about flat Earth. Okay, this is just
No,
between
no. It has the map upside down.
he said, I'm gonna get his thing and inbox you so you can follow, so you can go, because he pretty much says the same thing every time on his channel. When you log on, he says the same thing. So if you catch one, you kind of got the gist of it. You can go see one of them and get the idea of what he's talking about, and then we can regroup on that. But he says it. He says that the way that the map was originally done, and he goes by studies like where locusts can be and all kinds of stuff like that. That the only way that that would work is if the map was upside down. So Africa is really, instead of looking the way it does with the top big, the little part's actually at the top. And that, when you're talking about connected with India, like that makes sense to me if the map's upside down to be that close in that region. I need to find a way to type this out for you so that you'll have that as a note in the inbox. And then you can, when you listen to that, and then we can tie these little pieces together. Because the fact that you said those two places, and then that's where the Immaculate Conception was set to be for Mary, then that's another tie in for that. I don't know. It could be nothing. It could just be I'm a
Well, but
conspiracy
it's
theorist.
well, but it's fascinating, right?
It
If you look at,
is.
um, I'm not sure if you recall the genome project, the Human Genome Project, or the Blue whatever, where they actually tracked the point of origin of humans, regressing the likelihood or the likeness of DNA profile. So, for example, you go from the North Pole, and then you know that the northern tribes split into one went towards Siberia, the other one went towards China. But the North Pole is small, so they can do that. The group that went east became the Asians that we know. The group that went west became the Europeans. But if you keep rolling it back, then you see that actually the Europeans are descendants of the Asians that came from the north, which then says no. These guys, see how it flips, right? These guys came from Asia, and one group went north, and the other group went west. They came over the Caucasus and they settled in Europe. So you've got all the northern tribes, right? Like the Nordics, the North. So they're a group. I forget their name. And then you've got Europeans, and they're not identical, but they look alike. So if you see their phenotypes, people in the North Pole on top of Europe, they're like their eyes are like, you know, Asian eyes.
Mm-hmm.
But then if they kept tracking it, they noticed that the people from Asia actually came from the Middle East, and the people from the Middle East came from Central Africa, which means that there was either a land bridge or they had already discovered navigation aspects, not as humans that we are, but ancient humans like Neanderthals and people prior to Neanderthals already knew how to navigate. They already knew about boats. They already knew about
Wow.
making homes, making not caves. You know what I'm saying? It's like because all the DNA is related. So it's like, oh my freaking God. I mean, the space of possibility is just mind blowing.
It is.
So I bring this up because it is possible that this Immaculate Conception group of people would have come from that same region in Africa. They just stayed behind.
Uh,
And portions of that group actually went and settled in that place. Why aren't there more people, let's say in Iran? Because we cannot collect the information from Iran because there's like a blockade. I mean, why can we know about people in Russia? Because their medical records are sealed. They're not sharing that information.
hmm.
So there might be more. We
This,
just aren't aware of them. The same thing with China. You know what I'm saying?
yes, I do. That's my DNA. That you just said is in my family tree
Mm-hmm.
and my DNA report. Back to the Middle East.
You see? And you're
Armenia is
like,
my original.
Armenian?
Mhm.
That's cool.
I know. I was like, what am I? Who
That's
am I?
super cool.
God. Yeah. So, and I
Awesome.
always say knew I had this calling on me about something, and of course, I'm still like, I just have a lot of fun with it, and I learn a lot about it, and I stick in my now moment because I learned that that's what gets me through. But in my now moment, look at what a great now moment I'm having right now. I'm having so much fun.
Well, me too. I mean, I tell you, my sister, talking about that DNA thing real quick, my sister, she had in her mind, I'm indigenous because the family is from whatever and blah, blah, blah. And I'm super indigenous, so I'm going to claim that I'm indigenous. So we're like, all right, let's do a DNA, ancestry thing.
No,
No, say forget it.
leave her
No,
down
it's
the
not
road.
happening.
I did mine because I thought I was Jewish. It turns out I'm just a Jew. I'll Jew you down.
Right? It's like mind blowing. I mean, it's like, is this actually good? It's funny.
That's funny. Oh my gosh. Okay. So
Mhm.
that was really my main thing. And I know I heard you talk so many times about so many good things, and I did not write them down.
It's
I,
fine.
I
It's
know I
okay.
sent a thing that said talking point, talking point.
It's like, yeah, yeah,
I
yeah.
screenshot and I tried to go back in my phone. I dropped my phone like 5 times since then. So the screen's all cracked up.
It's fine. I mean, just before we like wrap up that topic on immaculate conception, is to me it's fascinating that um, Joshua, I'm just going to use that name, has no offspring.
Yeah.
I'm also blown away by the idea that Joshua um, presents his characteristics are similar to what's the name of that condition? It looks like he had Klinefelter's.
What's that?
It's a genetic disorder. Disorder disease is a disorder where males have two X's and one Y,
Oh, that's what you're saying.
right? Because allegedly Joshua was above height, and people with Klinefelters are typically above height,
Hmm.
like significantly taller.
How do we know
So
that about him, though?
I'm just inferring because the story says that he would stand out in the crowd, right? And so people are like short. He's tall. So to be tall, you have to have access to a lot of protein, right? But if he had access to protein, it means that other people had access to protein or that he had something special going on. I think it's that something similar to Klinefelter's, especially if Joshua is the product of an immaculate conception, genetically speaking.
Yeah,
I
it is.
mean, I can go on if
No, I
you
want
want me
you to.
to. It's
I do.
wild.
I do. I do. I mean, I do.
Well, so that this conspiracy theory, let's call it that, right? Conspiracy theory.
I read Nate.
Then looks at if that is the case, then it begs the question: why someone like Joseph take Mary as a wife? Because she was a virgin. So he knew that she was pure. The fact that she was pregnant does not mean that he did not know about this circumstance, because otherwise, at that time, it would have meant, well, she had intercourse with someone, or someone forced her to have intercourse, right? She's like a survivor
Mhm.
of, abuse. But allegedly, that's not the case. Also, they talk about stoning, right? Her. But the reality is, the Bible doesn't truly mention that about her. It is assumed because the Bible has entries about the custom of stoning people. So in my mind, the way that I read that passage is Joseph could not have kids because Jesus does not have siblings, allegedly. Conspiracy theory here. And then Joseph finds a person that is pure. So he's not, if anyone were to ask, it has been, his wife forever. But that happens before anyone knows. So somehow Mary's parents talked to Joseph and said, listen, this is the situation, but she is pure. I mean, we've checked because they can, right? Like that seal hymen, whatever. Um, so he's like, wow. Because they would never stone her because no one really ever knew about it. Otherwise, they would have said, you're the bastard son of Mary and you have been adopted by Joseph, which means you've been shorn from, because that's what would have happened.
Yeah,
But that's not what happened.
yeah.
The guy is like reading in the Sanhedrin to all these Pharisees, hey man, this is like the Torah and whatever. And he's like, what, 10 years old, 11 years old? And he's speaking to rabbis, interpreting. So Joseph dedicated his life teaching this kid. Why?
Why? I'm asking you. What do you think?
More conspiracy theory?
Okay.
All right. So I think understanding that Joseph is a descendant of David, like a removed third cousin, if such thing exists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He wanted to reestablish the kingdom on his bloodline. And he finds that this kid is so special because it's the product is an immaculate conception. And it's his kid to raise. So Joseph is a carpenter, right? But no one really knows if they were poor. But it is assumed that Jesus was poor. So now the question is, how is it that he can speak several languages?
Mm-hmm. He went to
You need,
Egypt for a while, huh? Did he live
and
in
he,
Egypt for a while?
right? And he had, like, with his dad, if they are making furniture, right? Just think about this. This is the Iron Age. To make a nail is super complicated because it has to be done by hand. Or you have to have like a sand pour, like make those little molds, and then the molten whatever iron ore has to be dropped. So it is a very intensive process, but there's no entry about that in those, whatever 20 years that we know nothing about Jesus. I mean, he is running his dad's business. He's selling furniture. He's maintaining his home. He is learning, and he has connections. I mean, everywhere in the New Testament where he goes and stays, these are rich Greeks and people that are upper scale. I mean, how does a poor person that is marginalized connect with the upper class of Jewish society?
I like that angle.
That's super wild.
I like that angle. I gleaned some of that throughout, like him being in Egypt, and thought about how he supported his way, and that's been in the back of my mind, but I never thought about it the way you just put it.
Well, more conspiracy theory.
Hmm.
Um, so at the point where their furniture is being sold or marketed, that would be a better term, they are connecting with people that are walking or traveling the Silk Road. The Silk Road connects China all the way up to Alexandria, right? Or is it Damascus? No, it's Alexandria. So that's where it ends, which means people from China are bringing like silk and, I don't know, paints and whatever, adhesives and maybe bolts and nuts, whatever. And then people from the West are actually returning goods, certain jewelry, things that are, you know, beautiful furniture, I mean, whatever. So I think Joshua was connected to those caravans that actually ran back and forth and had access to information that not everyone else in his group had, because Joshua was able to communicate with these people. It's like the three magi, right? Where are they from? Well, allegedly they're Persian, Indian, and somewhere from the Caucasus. They're not Arabs. And they show up like 2 years later. So there is something, right? Astrology, whatever, you name it.
You know he had their backing. Wow.
And these are kings. These people are
Wow.
erudite. They
I
have a lot.
know. I like it. Yeah, because I also, when you're saying this, I also gleaned throughout this time in my studies and my information, there was a caravan. So this is not the first time I'm hearing that. But I didn't think about the connection to the kings, the three kings. They blessed him with all of that availability.
So
Yeah.
they know him. They know where he is. They know what they do. So these could be like mentors, like benefactors, right? That
Mhm.
are watching this guy, and they may have been connected to Joseph because they're not there when Joseph and Mary, when Mary gives birth to Joshua, they're not there. They show up 2 years later. So it would have been enough time for Joseph to communicate with them, saying, you know what, the child is here.
I have to ask you about, J- I know this is theory, but I
Mm-hmm.
heard that there were siblings. So the part
I love that
about,
story.
do you think that's true or not true?
No, no, no. This go ahead.
No, I just heard that there were siblings. So when you were theorizing about Joseph not being able to have children,
Mm-hmm.
could that be not? I'm gonna have to do some.
So are the siblings older or younger?
I would say younger. That
So
means
it's
Yeshua
a
would be the first
right.
child.
So a 40-year-old person
Hmm.
decides to pick up a kid from a 14-year-old, right, that has this, baby, and then engages with Mary in
Hmm.
regular marriage, and she has X number of children. However, none of the siblings show up when he's crucified. None of the children show up when he's teaching. There are no writings from any of the children. None of the books talk about younger siblings. None.
Yeah, I never heard any literature. I just heard people say that.
Right.
Like,
And
what?
if because there's a writing, and it's actually the kids are older, right? So Joseph already had been married, had kids, and the kids were actually pretty old. And actually, Joseph is an empty nester and engages with Mary because he can, because all of his kids have left.
So Mary wasn't his first marriage? Oh my gosh. What?
Isn't it wild?
I did
I mean,
not
just
know
think.
that. I
So
did not know
I prefer to think that he didn't have any kids because that makes it kind of creepy. But
that.
yeah, it's like wow, it's wild.
So where is the literature on that part?
It doesn't exist.
It says it's still theory.
Does not exist. There's no mention of anyone. They talk about his cousin James that he beat up, right? So is it Mary's on Mary's side or on Joseph's side? The cousin
They're
doesn't
both
say.
related, though. Mary and Joseph are related.
Maybe that's how he found out that she was pregnant. And maybe that's why he thought it was, this is this is the kid, this is the sign from whatever that this kid will bring back our crown. Whatever.
Yeah.
Just making stuff up. Me. But
No, but that they both knew somehow. You know
it's
that this was
wild.
what was
It's
actually
it is so wild.
that is.
Um, so more to it, right? So if you think about setting up shop today, and you have a shop that creates some of the most complex products based on the available technology. So let's say, I don't know, your family installs security systems, right? And they're electronic systems and they import all this stuff and it's like programming and it's complicated. Or they do like an HVAC, like an air conditioning business, that sort of thing. It takes a lot of training, special tools, an investment, employees, marketing. Now, move your timeline back to, I don't know, 40 years BC, or maybe 50 years BC before Joshua. Um, and then think about how would have Joseph started a carpentry? What he needed to do in order to keep that business going until 50 years later, because Jesus was still operating the carpentry, the business as he was preaching. Because where else did he get the money to hang out with 12 dudes doing nothing, a bunch of hippies smoking, whatever, pot? No, I mean,
Them kings.
where's the money coming? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you're on it, right? That's it. The three kings are tutoring this guy and they're actually financing part of this venture. So to me, this is like, this makes more sense to have someone being groomed by an organization that's trying to restore some type of government. And in the attempt, they fail.
How they fail? What do you mean?
They weren't careful enough to prevent the Sanhedrin and the Pharisees to identify Jesus as a political contender. And that's why he gets whacked.
Okay, and then on the other side of my part of that belief thing is that because yeah, I feel that, and he was hiding and he knew this was coming or whatever. Uh, is that in the spirit world when that actually happened, because here goes another branch to this thing. And I don't know if this is intellectualism or just that if you're
No,
like, I don't know
no.
about that. But
Again, these are conspiracy theories
yeah,
that I'm
you're right.
talking about.
Yeah, more gleaning here, putting it together. So when that happened in the spirit world, that when you go to the Luciferian doctrine,
Mhm.
this is talking about, and this is, and I already know. I'm just going to disclaimer here. I'm just talking about. Oh, thank you. Okay. That I just heard recently that it was said that Jesus was, I'm doing air quotes, the devil. And I'll tell you why I did that. Because to me, the devil is the flesh that desires and has all of these crazy things that is not conducive to life. To me, that's the
Okay,
devil.
that makes sense. I
And
like
then,
that definition.
yeah, so, excuse me. So when that crucifixion happened, to
Mhm.
me, that was the ultimate forgiveness in what is required of human beings now, because love is the only thing that works for this to come around. So whenever I got bit by the devil and went to hell, and I was like, oh snap, this is really rough. And I had to forgive them. It really got ugly. I really started to figure out what was in my heart, because then I realized I had some shit in my heart, because I really want justice.
Yes.
So, yeah. So then my theory about that was, in the spirit world, when Yeshua did that, and I'll just say the Messiah, that was in the buying back, so to speak, of that it was an agreed upon thing. But then we would have to go and say, who agreed upon this? And I say the creator. The creator said. And then people say, oh, a God would do that. A God would sacrifice, or a God would. But I've lived life and I've seen ugly things come to good with consistency, with putting love forth, with putting forgiveness forth, with. So I know that's a lot of layered stuff. But
No,
we were.
no, absolutely not. It makes sense.
Thank you. And talking about the Messiah being that person, and it already happening, and having the choice to believe that it actually happened or no. I don't know where I'm going with that.
So no,
I'm
no,
not
no. I
lost. I'm
just
not lost.
no, 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 no. You aren't. It's actually I'm following along. So what I'm thinking is, from your perspective, is more about um, a spiritual revolution of sorts. In other words, it's not really about inventing a religion. It's not really about breaking away from Judaism. It's not. What I'm getting from your words is the intent was to show what is the power of love, right? And maybe not in those words, but I think he tells the apostles, um, was it Gethsemane? No, it was during the Last Supper. He says, "There's no, there isn't truer love than the love for your friends when you're willing to die for them." That's I believe it's the quote. So to your point, it's like I'm going to give up my life for a group of people that I don't really have any connection with other than a friendship. I mean, it's so poor the connection that there's one of you motherfuckers that's gonna sell me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's like, and regardless, I'm willing to do this so people don't persecute you, or so that you're not in trouble or whatever. Um, so I think he finds meaning in being a martyr and letting people know what the power of martyrdom is, right? That you perish for a cause that is so strong that it's not about violence. It's the complete opposite. Kind of like um, kind of like Gandhi. They threw down the British whatever 1947 or 40 whatever because they went into a national strike, and the strike was we're going to sit down and we're not going to do a damn thing. You remember that silent
Right.
protest when they were all meditating?
Okay.
And that's how the British Crown actually says, all right, you know what, you people are too weird. We're losing a lot of business, so yeah, here's your stuff. We're out. Um, so to me, I mean, that's what I'm getting from your words.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was that part about the physical aspect of winning, when about them failing in the 3D physical, like they were able to capture him and do that to him because of some kind of what I was telling you earlier. The system failed me in that dynamic, and the system has failed a lot of parents and mothers in those dynamics, and it's hurt the children. So that's what they did to him in the 3D. And then that's why, okay, so that's why I said what I said about the spirit world. Okay, I got you now. I got you. Yeah.
So I'm
Okay.
fine, and I'm listening, I'm paying attention.
Yeah. No, I love that about you.
Um, so for me is I struggle with um, the idea that we exceed our immediacy, right? So we can think about the future, but the future is so it's ephemeral, right? Um, we don't know what will happen in the next second. So you did not know that I was going to say you did not know, but now that I've said it, it's gone. And if you make that very tiny, the time frame between what's about to happen and what's happening and what has happened, if we do infinitesimal calculus, we can see that it's asymptotic. There is no point of connection between the future and the past. It's always a continuum, but being practical, no one can live in that space. It is the tiniest micro smallest slice of time. It's so tiny that even molecules, atoms, electrons are outside of it. They cannot go as fast as that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So the future is unknown. Even though you're thinking the words, you're projecting what will happen, and you can make a prediction based on what you are going to say. But that's you, and that's your experience. Me listening to you, I have no fucking clue what you're about to say, right?
Yeah.
So I think that we live in this past tense all the time
Mm-hmm.
because we need to experience that super small moment so that we can process it and then say, oh, this is what's happening. But no, it's not what's happening, it's what happened,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring this up and make some sense,
That's a
uh,
miracle right there. I'm with you.
right?
Saved my
So,
life.
so I find that we cannot escape that reality. No matter what we do, we just cannot escape time and space. At least we can't in any way, shape, or fashion. 3D, non 3D, spiritual, other dimension, it's all bound by time and space. But time and space are human things, they don't really exist. Because if you can imagine living in that tiny, tiny slice of time forever, life is perpetual. It's like immortality. You don't really care what's happened, you don't really care what's going to happen because you're in that space consistently. So, hi, Rachel. So, from
Yes.
my perspective, I think that back to the case of Joshua, I see it in a more pragmatic way. I think I'll put it like this. I would say that Mary Magdalene owned a fleet of boats, and her main business was not to rent the boat, but to sell the product, right? So it's a fleet of boats, fishing boats. Mary Magdalene calls Jesus and says, listen, I got two of my ships, two of my boats. They're not working, they're leaking. Can you fix them? Jesus is a carpenter. Mary Magdalene is in business with him. So he goes and, yeah, for sure. Let me go check it out so I can call one of my technicians so I can go fix it. So Jesus goes all the way out there and meets the fisherman. There is no other reason for Jesus to be out there in Capharnaum at the time where he shows up to recruit 12 fishermen. Why was he there? The story begins, Jesus shows up, right, after the King Herod stuff. He just magically appears. They roll the tape forward, and he appears right in the shore at the shore in the shores of Capharnaum, right, which is like the furthest point from Jerusalem that you can think about. Why? Why didn't he show up in Nazareth? Why doesn't the story tell us why he went there?
Why?
Because it humanizes him. It makes him human, flesh and bone. There's nothing godly about it. It's just a regular dude.
Yeah.
And that perception would destroy the idea that this individual is the Messiah. Because the Messiah, despite of his condition, is above and beyond everyone. But this guy's in business. They're like, hey man, what's busted? All right, I'm gonna call my carpenter so they come next weekend and fix this stuff. But he has been groomed to recruit people to follow this philosophy, whatever that philosophy was. So that's why he starts to engage with the poorest people. But I don't think the fishermen were poor. Because
I think they did
either
okay.
they rented, right, either they rented the ships or they were employees of someone's employees.
They were sustaining, I feel like. They were doing, like, except for Peter. I think he was struggling a little bit.
You know what I'm saying? But it's all this freaking weirdness around it. And there are so many questions that I have. I prefer to see it from that pragmatic stance where for so many people, including one of his followers who was not a fisherman, who was actually a lawyer at the time, and that's Judas. He's a very smart guy. He's a scholar. He's gone to school. He's not stupid. And the idea that these people are walking around like they're homeless, that's bullshit. It's not true. Because none of the Jews would have opened their doors to them. None.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because I was going to law. I was applying to law school at Tulane. Had
Oh,
everything.
really?
Oh, everything was lined up, and I tell you what, when I went through what I went through, I felt like I would. If we talk about reincarnation, I was reincarnated as something. I was Judas. I swear, I betrayed God. Like I betrayed my children. I betrayed myself. That's how I felt from the trauma, from what from what I lived through as a child, and I was surviving to get out of it and not able to hold on to what I valued most because the trauma, which are the AKA demons, took
Yes.
over me, and I just had to let go of like I'm on a riverbank and I'm holding on to a limb and the river's just beating me down and I have to let go of the limb to just flow with the river and see where it took me. And I went off the dam and landed at the bottom and was like, what the fuck? And I done got hit by an 18 wheeler through like the whole thing. I'm like, damn it now. I'm out this. You ever seen Apocalypto with
Yes.
that movie? That's me right there on every
Oh my
level.
God.
In fact, that dream that I had from Soul's Journey, she did a meditation. Remember this scene? Oh, you're gonna make me do a puzzle or something. Hang on. Oh shit. Oh shit. I done lost the puzzle. There we go. Is whenever he was escaping and he went across, was leaving, and all the bodies, the headless bodies that were out in that gully. Remember that when he got away?
Yes.
It was like that was a scene when she was walking me down. It was black and it was all black except very light, not like that movie, but the texture of that movie with the arms and the legs and all that. But it was in my scene, it was all black but the bodies were like dark, dark gray in contrast to the all black. And I was like, she's like walking the red carpet. So I was like, oh my God, Tina, there's a bunch of all these bodies, Said, just put the red carpet. So I put the red carpet. It had the bumps and everything. And I'm still walking to this mirror that she's taken me to in this meditation. And I finally get to the mirror at the end and I have to look at myself for who I am after walking through all of that.
Oh my God,
Yeah,
that's intense.
it was intense. It was intense. I didn't know what I was going to see in the mirror because I've done mirror work and I've seen some shit. I was like, I was like, yeah, what am I?
I'd rather not look. Me personally, I'd rather not look.
Now I just take a quick glance and I'm like, bitch, get out of here. I'm like, you good. Stop calling me bitch. That's what I tell myself sometimes.
Ooh,
Yeah,
ooh,
for real.
that's an LOL. Yeah, for sure. I'm
I
telling
survived.
you,
I was
it's
like, you
like
survived. That's what.
I'm super. Uh, I'm gonna say proud that um, you're a survivor and that you didn't crash and burn. You crashed, but you didn't burn. Hopefully
Well,
that makes sense.
I felt like I burned. Don't get me wrong. I
Yeah, but
felt
here
like
you
I was
are.
burning. You hear me? Burning. But that's how I knew during that burning phase to keep my mind set on what was really real. And to me, the only thing that was really real and true is I would say, God is love, God is love, God is love. And what
That's
do
it.
I want? I don't want to want anything. That's what I want, you know? And
That's
so
it.
and I had to sum it all up. And what do I really desire is world peace. So I just would stay in that moment you were talking about. And I wrote this down, exceed our immediate, what'd you say? Exceed our immediate. You said that a while ago. It's a quote.
Oh, about the present,
Exceed our,
yeah, our immediate expectation, right? So it's like we cannot exceed our living in that past because we cannot be in the future. We cannot guess it. We cannot predict it. We can try, but well, we can predict it. We cannot live it. And then, yeah,
yeah. And that's whenever I had to get in
it's
my,
we cannot exceed our reality.
that's the one. And I would look around and I would just focus, say, okay, look at your hands. And when I looked at my hands and they looked totally different than they did before I went into hell, and it didn't even look like my body, it was another form of getting into that space you're talking about. And when I would get into that space, I'm like, God is love, God is love, God is love, God. Like I would only have my thoughts on that and world peace for that transmutation of all of that to come to, for that energy to emit out into the world.
I'm telling you.
Yeah, that's my goal. I want world
I'm
peace,
telling you.
alignment for everyone.
I'm telling you. I mean, most people that have these experiences have been, subjected to some pretty heavy duty trauma, or the trauma comes from some really heavy duty experiences. And my respects, literally to you, big time,
It was
big
rough.
time, super impressive.
Thank you. It was rough, honey. I say the worst part is that injection, I was like, not only takes me to get out and do anything like that, like to go off in the drug world, but to do what I did, because that's why I don't do nothing wrong. I take one shot and it collapses my veins, two of my two big veins.
Right?
Yeah, I was like, man, I can't even, get clean shit for the 5 times I do it. So
I'm sorry.
that was all another part of it. No, because I was so, and just pun intended, hell bent on overcoming all that shit and knowing that who I was burning inside of me to actually live the life that I was created to live, and not the perceptions that were put on me from what happened to me as a child and what I did as a result, and the people that came against me. And I learned that sitting still has been the best thing. Speaking of which, another thing you said a minute ago that just prompted this back about that little area. Right now, there's a triangle. They're calling it like Satan. It's in this planetary movement. Are you into the planets and stuff?
Uh,
Okay.
Not really, but
Okay, well, this is
I'm
a
all
little brief.
ears.
Little brief. And that's another thing. I got to write these things down to inbox you. Is what was the thing earlier? Let me Molly McCord. This is for the astrology part. And it's going to tell you about what I'm telling you right now. There's a couple of people that talk about it. This guy on TikTok too. But right now there's a planetary movement where it's going to cause a triangle type thing. And in that void that you're talking about, that people are going to have to live in that little space in this moment in time. So their energies are pinging all around it.
Oh
And
wow.
it's a pivotal point for choice to be made, which resonates inside of each person. So right now is considered the Scorpio moon, and
Okay.
Pluto is behind that. So I think I have Pluto playing here. Yeah, I listen to the frequency head of it when it's happening, and it's like medicinal. So Mars is like the root chakra and the head. So Mercury's coming up, which is going to put people in a thought process where the thoughts are going to be more prevalent. So these thoughts have to be captured and put into a place to fit into that little space you're talking about in the now moment, not going forward, not going backward.
Correct.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's where the power is.
Exactly.
Yep. So that's what
That's
those planets
solid.
are doing right now is forcing everybody into that little corral to go like that little chute. I picture like a cattle chute, like internally, like we have to make a decision. We're going to go to that side. We're going to go to that side. We're going to heal it or we're going to let it just keep recycling. And people are realizing that recycling is not the way to go and that love is the only thing that works. So they're getting rid of things that take away from their love, that take away from their peace. And that's what it's about, removing those things that are what they say no longer serving you in a way that's conducive to having peace within and healing and forgiveness and all of those things.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, I tell you, so I've heard about Pluto in retrograde, right? And the explanation around it was, oh my gosh, there's like an intense change, and things are gonna change, and this is gonna be like to the extreme. And I'm like,
Yeah.
good. So it's gonna affect me. I'm gonna change jobs. I mean, all that is happening, right? So I'm like, wow, how did they know? I don't know, but okay, whatever. And what they didn't tell me was what would happen with all of the governments around the world.
Hmm.
It's like we're imploding.
Yeah.
And it's like a time of so much stress. It has been unseen since World War I. Literally,
Yeah.
there's like a major armed conflict everywhere, like literally everywhere. And there's so much like tension, and then it's like territorialism, and then there's like this whole historical thing, and then there's like drug lords, and then there's like crime, and then there's like Russia and Ukraine, and then there's so it's like so much stuff. And now the Pope is it's an American, and that's putting everything upside down. So
That.
I'm like, dang.
You know what I thought was weird and why, and you might have something with this too, is why was the Pope given that talk when he got accepted in another language besides English? If he's the first American Pope, why would he
Uh,
have to do it in another language? Why couldn't he do it in English?
because not everyone speaks English in the church, but everyone in the church in Italy speaks Italian. Um, and it's customary for the Pope to speak in Italian. So the official language in Vatican is Italian.
Okay. He
Um,
spoke it beautifully.
he's been there
Like
for a
that was his
long
first
time.
language.
He's been well. He is Peruvian by choice. I mean, he's a naturalized citizen of Peru.
Well, he's a neighbor from Chicago. He ain't up but 3 hours down the road.
Mm-hmm. You know
I
what I'm
couldn't
saying?
believe it.
It's wow.
I could not believe it when they
This
said
guy is
that.
like wild.
I went
Yeah.
and listened to his thing. His they translated it, but it was really beautifully said until he got to the point where he said the Hail Mary. full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners at the hour of their dun, 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 unaliving. And that's where they lose me. Because it's like, that's not what this is about to me. This is
Yeah.
about life and life more abundantly. And the proof in all of these different aspects and facets of things, thoughts become things, the science that the body's not designed to perish, all of that stuff. And then this big prayer to the connection to the creator through this religion is praying for people at the hour of their unaliving, as if that's bound to happen.
Well, it's customary, right? And again, it's that's why I go back to the story of Joseph and someone else grooming Joshua, right?
Okay, let's go.
Because it is an apocalyptic set of beliefs.
What's
And these
apocalyptic?
people, they they're waiting for the end of the world,
Oh, waiting for the end of the world. I got you.
right? Um, so there is a promise of a new kingdom, a kingdom that's not from here, a kingdom that comes from heaven. But it's not about, well, you're all going to die and we're going to go out and go have fun. No, that's not what he said, right? It's more about this promise that we'll go into a new plane of existence. It is really, really philosophically bound to Eastern beliefs at the time. It's like really close to Buddhism, if you will, because they will resurrect, which means they will come back, and that's reincarnation. So Jesus resurrects because, well, he passed and he, you know, woke up again. It's not that he went and came back, but it's the ideas are very similar, and it is apocalyptic because the expectation is that you have to pass. I mean, you have to expire in order for this stuff to become true,
Mm,
right? Um,
what they
and
say.
right, and that set of beliefs then get transmuted into the apocalypses. That's why it's apocalyptic, because anyone that's this is 300 years later or 200 whatever. Everyone that subscribes to these beliefs that are all these Gentiles, non-Jews or non-Jewish, believe that the world must end for Joshua to come back and for them to rise from the unalived. From it's like zombie land, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like don't cremate me because I want to wake up again, my little bones. You know,
So
it's like
weird.
what the
I
hell?
know. I know. So weird.
To me, it's more like, you know what? We went to a different plane of existence. We joined back the algorithm, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But we're not going back. No, we're done. This test is done.
Yeah.
No more.
Agreed. Oh
That's
no.
how I feel, but that's not how it's taken. So the prayers, I think the Holy Mary prayer is from like 700
Yeah. My grandma
uh,
taught me that as a little girl.
after Christ. Yeah,
I
and
got a tattoo. Listen to this. I got a tattoo, and they said, put, there was Christ on the cross. Okay, under here, there's a crucifix, it's laying down. And this was not relating to the KKK thing. This was simply relating to that the fact that when you tattoo it, the white doesn't stay real well. So he said, you want to leave Jesus on the cross or take him off on the tattoo? And I said, keep him on and make him whiter.
God.
It's like when I thought about it after, I was like, oh my God, the trauma. Because then I was like, I didn't mean it like that, you know?
It's like, oh, look at me
I,
sing.
I
It's like,
know.
yeah.
And so after that, I'm like, great. Now I have a tattoo of the Messiah on the cross. And It was my grandma had this thing because she was Episcopalian. This all came from religion from when I was a kid. Okay, how this manifested into my life during I was clinging to holding on to life. All right, and so she had the stages of the crucifixion from
Hmm.
the trial to the carrying of the cross, the whole thing, and he was on the cross, and so every crucifixion they had, he was on the cross. So that's why I said that, but I'm like, oh, you see what I mean, Judas? Judas
Oh,
Priest
it's
here.
just, it's wild. So, but yeah, I mean, that's kind of like the story of uh, most of them, most of those prayers are, are about afterlife, not about current living conditions.
Yeah.
Because current living conditions suck. But we have the promise that when we,
What about you being the scientist version of you and all that I know you are? What about that part about the human body is not designed to perish and it regenerates itself and it is the densest form of energy. It is still energy. It's matter, but it's still energy. And thoughts become things, and as a man thinketh, and all of that.
there's right, there's a saying, or it's not a saying, it's an idea that says, if I imagine something, it exists.
Mhm.
It exists in my mind, it means that it exists. But if I think about it, I don't imagine it, but if I think about it, then it becomes true.
How do you imagine, first of all? Because I have a hard time imagining because it seemed like every time I imagined, it would come into something bad. And then, well, how do you decide the difference between thinking and imagining? Real questions.
So imagining is, I can imagine a world that's free of cavities. Dentists, now I'm thinking about it, are out of a job. We no longer teach orthodontics or periodontics at school, right? All of the, so then thinking about it, it helps us develop plans, things that we can communicate to other people. But the vision, what I imagined was a world without cavities.
Mhm.
And you can see it as, I can't, but a lot of people can see the images of all these little kids not having to brush their teeth. So, because it's passe, it's faux pas. But
Man.
it also means that I can imagine things that are utterly wild and think of them as true, yet they're not. It works both ways.
Yeah, it does. Oh, yeah, it does. I do love the polars, but at the same time, got to be really careful. Seems
Yeah,
like wow, I could really get on that other road sometimes. I have to say,
yeah.
stop it, don't talk to me like that. Like I've been talking like crazy.
I'm
Like,
telling you, it's like,
committee meeting.
yeah, the inner
Yeah.
voice, Jesus. Yeah, I'm sorry.
Oh, Lordy,
The
I
inner
do.
voice is like,
Yeah, I do not want to get on that train and be like, "Let me out of here! That's too going too fast to jump." No.
for real. I tell you, for real. I just don't. I guess I don't have the energy anymore just to go on this crusade trying to convince people of things. I just have the energy to learn, to listen to people, to enjoy their experiences. But
I like that. I really like that.
I mean, it's like, bro, because I was part of the Opus Day. I don't know if you know what that is, the
Uh-uh.
prelature.
No, I don't.
So, so it's a group of people within the Catholic Church that are, they're, they're called the Pope's Army, and it's hardcore. I'm telling you, this is hardcore Catholicism, like literally hardcore. Um, and then it becomes a function of allowing people to see what faith can do in this plane of existence. So there was a lot of um, hands-on work, teaching, guiding, uh, having conversations, helping people, out of addiction or uh, alcohol consumption, and it's more about setting an example. And they're cooperators, and then there are numeraries and supernumeraries, and they're people that just live a secular life, whatever, but they operate more like deacons of the church, and they're doctors, they're lawyers, they're whatever, engineers. But it's a movement that requires such an amount of effort and dedication and focus, they won't let you go. So you cannot quit. Can't quit.
Okay, so let's dig into that a little bit.
They want you have to provide the money, the arm, the elbow grease, the mind, the thought, the spirit.
When you say they won't let you go, you mean the Catholic people that have you?
No, the prelature.
What's the what?
The prelature. It's a group of people that are subscribed or adjacent to the Pope. It's like a group of people within the Catholic Church that have direct line of sight into the Pope.
It's what you said sounded really scary.
It is. It's all
Okay.
a force for good. It's all good. I mean, the intent and the work that we do is good. Well, that I'm no longer with them, but the work
Said
that
they won't let you go.
it takes literally an act of God. I had to move to a different place and disconnect completely. And they still ask, well, has anybody heard about?
You reminding me of Beatrix Kiddo right now.
It's wild.
Boom!
It's wild.
Damn!
It's really wild. And
Wow.
it's like, it's not a cult, because it's not, but it does require. Oh my God, this is so freaking dirty. You know what this is?
A mini scope?
The firing pin.
Okay.
So when you go like this,
Hmm.
there's like a little spring that hits this that little silver thingy in there,
And it,
and this little silver thingy moves forward, and then there's a tiny little needle back there, and that's actually hitting the ammunition, the call center fire. It
mm-hmm.
hits the
Got a
ammunition
little
right
mark.
where it needs to be hit, and kaboom!
Damn.
But
The adrenaline on that, huh?
I tell you, oh my gosh, this is so dirty. I'm ashamed of myself because I haven't taken care of this
I mean, how dirty
device.
can it be?
Like really dirty.
Oh boy.
I
Somebody
mean,
was having fun.
I've been scraping this stuff like for the
Since we've
last
been
one.
talking.
We've been talking for how long? An hour and a half. I've been like doing this thing for an hour and a half. It's still freaking
No,
dirty. Come on.
no. Look at them arms though. You getting that shape in them arms doing that. That's why
Yeah,
I love
right.
being a bartender.
Shape the
That's
strength.
the part. We'll just tie that one up. Mine too. Mine has an extra wave on it. I'm just extra friendly.
Oh Lord.
That's why I be lifting that ice bucket when I'm at work, walking back and front.
Right?
Like, what the hell are you doing? I'm like, I'm getting my workout too. Don't worry about me.
LOL. That is funny. But yeah, it's kind of like.
Okay.
Hopefully we can see the difference in color.
What? It was dirty.
This is clean. This is
It was
not clean.
dirty. I
This
didn't
is
even know it was
dirty.
that dirty. Wow.
Bro, I tell you. Oh my God.
You got that booger sparkling.
I'm so ashamed.
Well, you
This
did
talks
good
about
now.
abandonment.
You're
I'm
forgiven
telling
now.
you. Jeez.
It's back to perfect. Okay, so
Jeez.
Yeshua. Where were we? I know you had a pin in that one.
Yeah, so I think then that back to being practical, I think that there's a lot of, again, this is my perspective. There's a lot of not misinformation, but misunderstanding
Mhm.
between what could be considered conspiracy versus the intent of what's been written and shared versus, um, oh my God, I almost ran out, versus what's been recovered. So like people say, right? Well, the Dead Sea Scrolls. And my response is, yeah, it could be a whole bunch of like pita bread recipes.
I wish. I love to
You know
make
what I
some pita
mean?
bread.
But it's just wild, right? Um, because there are all these assumptions that are made around uh, the meaning of the words, but the words were written in a different language with a different social context, with a different geopolitics at a time where we did not have an understanding that the Western world would even exist.
Mm,
So when those books were written, there was no idea that this side of the world existed. There was no idea that Rome would be the center of the universe, right? Yet here we are interpreting something that was written by a bunch of goat herders, right? And fishermen, and people just herding goats are writing these
question.
books.
Question. Another thing about the map. What about the being a Rome being the center of the thing, and
Where
now
authorities?
North America with Daniel's clay feet being what is considered the, I'll say, Anglo-American government, the government of like Rome was,
Mm-hmm.
destroying itself from the inside. What about that connection to what you just said in timeline, like us now and America being that?
Yeah, I think it's a common theme. Uh, I have thought about this extensively, and we can see it's like that history repeats itself um, over and over and over again. It's like we are under the belief, you said it right, we're under the belief that, or we believe that a bunch of
You back?
bunch of German a bunch
There
of German dudes are all,
I
crazy,
go.
all drinking beer, all drinking beers with like a giant, drinking beer with a beard, right? And they're like, yeah, let's take down the Roman Empire. When they burned it, no, it didn't happen like that. It happens more like what you're saying. They overextended themselves. They didn't have enough money to pay or to fund all of the services that made Rome great. They people started to complain. There's no food. There are no jobs. I mean, what are you people doing? You're corrupt. Blah blah blah. You're just partying. I don't give a crap about us, and we get punished and more taxes, and until the point where people start separating themselves from that culture. So the nation, the Roman nation, just starts to fall apart, right?
Yeah,
Um, I think that's happening here.
yeah,
We're at that point where we'll start seeing brain drain. We'll start seeing people shutting down and not no longer investing in the U.S. Our situation is backwards because we're not expanding. We're actually bringing people in, and I think people don't want to come back in. Actually, Americans are wanting out.
yeah, yeah,
But it's the same thing that you're saying, right? It's like
yeah.
it implodes. If we, this is something that I read not only on Forbes, but it's like Bloomberg, and it says that, and I also read on Wired that there's no quick recovery. Let's say we stop everything that we're doing now. We change policy, we roll back everything that's been done. There's no quick recovery. The estimate is for the world to retake the place where it was 120 days ago will take about 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah. I looked up one time about the deficit to see like if religion got taxed, how much money they were making because I thought, oh, that'll make a difference. That don't even make a difference in what where we stand.
Does not.
Thank you. So yeah, so
Right. So that's the thing. Back to your point.
okay.
Yes, we are like, Clay's feet. Absolutely. Absolutely. We're a nation built on an idea. Rome was a nation built on ex, the expansion of itself, the ability to assimilate people and to expand its territory despite not being any enemies, because all the enemies have been conquered, right? I mean, the Mediterranean, the whole freaking thing was Roman, all the way up to Britain and
Yeah.
all the way out to like Persia and all the way south to Ethiopia. All that stuff was Roman.
Yeah.
So we're in the same boat but backwards. So yes, I'm in agreement with you. I
Backwards,
think
that's the
it's just
word.
just messed
Backwards.
up.
That's the word I got in the beginning. Okay. Back to the pen. I love following this thing. It's just I get these little that's why I love it. I just love it. You go back to you always have your that's why I like talking to you. Because when I do squirrel out, I get to learn all kind of stuff in the middle. And then we go back to the original theme that I
The
love.
original thing, yeah,
Yeah.
it's wild. That's something I practice with my mom, because it's more of a game. And so we say something like, I don't know, 2 plus 2 is 4. And then she says, yeah, that number two has meaning, right? Okay, so what's the meaning? Well, the meaning comes back from a framework that was developed in so whatever time, and the idea was to, and all of a sudden we are 45 minutes into a conversation that's talking about the weirdest things that you can imagine, and in the end, she says, and that's why 2 plus 2 is 4.
Yeah. I love that.
She's 85.
I
I'm like,
love it. She's brilliant.
really?
That's your
I'm like,
gift, though. That's one of your gifts.
yeah. I tell her when I grow up, I want to be like you. She's like, Mara, you're grown up.
What a sweetheart.
Grown up. Come on. It's like,
It don't
damn,
feel like
son.
it, though, does it?
Right. So I'm not going to be like you.
When I was talking to Forward, I'm like, I know you're like 85. Like, I know that I'm not 85 to know, but yeah, it's funny.
Lols.
Okay,
That's funny.
so we were
So,
talking about Rome being the center of the place, and you were still talking about Yeshua.
mhm, yes.
So, like, totally listening.
Well, I find that um, there's this idea that the Rome became Christian, but it's not true. Rome did not become Christian. Rome became Catholic,
Mhm.
and Catholicism is not Christianism, because it's not Christianity. It's not a quality. Christianism is an ideology. It's a doctrine, just like Islamism, Buddhism, Hinduism, Judaism. But we're so messed up in the head that we think that being a believer of this stuff is a quality. Christianity. Hey, I'm a Christian because I have Christianity, something that you don't have. So I'm the chosen one, but you're not. So the Roman Empire becomes Catholic because they needed a doctrine that would have something that it's canon, a set of strict rules that would impose Roman belief. So it's like we are going to control the population. using an ideology. And since most of these people don't know how to read and write, not the inner circle, but the majority of the Romans did not know how to read and write, and neither did the Jews. And because there's this belief, oh, the Jews know how to read and write. That's no, it's bullshit. Or just a tiny group.
Okay.
The Greek, the Jewish, I mean, the Greeks, the Jewish, the Armenians, well, it's more north of Macedonia. All that group of people, the majority, Spaniards, the Lusitanians, they did not know how to read and write. They didn't. So it's a great opportunity for manipulation. They loved their undereducated. Does that resonate with you?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were
I,
able to. Go ahead.
that's just been a thing. The more education, the more smarts. It was a lot harder to. I mean, it was difficult for me because people that didn't have an education and that weren't that smart and thought that they were underestimated because of the poverty that I came from and the background that I came from and all of those things. So I can totally understand the intellectualism part of that thing. And then that's about the control because these people with pure hearts come out and they're honestly looking for something, but they're not thinking that it has to be in book form, that it's a natural way of being. And they're being manipulated by lack of education, you know? Yeah.
So it's easy to push a doctrine that says if you don't know how to read and write, and if your emperor, who happens to be a godlike creature, because that's what emperors were at the time, if a godlike creature says this is the truth, then that's the truth, because they don't know better. They don't know about other cultures, other doctrines, other ways of seeing the world. I mean, Buddhism is older than the teachings of Christ. I think like 200 years, or more than 200 years. No, 600.
Wow.
So it is, to me, it's like that, right? They've taken someone who had the intent of showing what love does, and they just exploited it and converted it into a political BS, which was the original intent in my book of the dad and the three kings.
All right, let's go there.
You remember that I said we were talking about before about, again, conspiracies. Remember, so conspiracy.
Yeah, I'm about it. I'm a conspiracy theorist. You know
No, no, no.
that.
So, like we were saying before, Joseph knows about Mary and the Immaculate Conception. Joseph thinks this is a sign and says, "This is our guy. We need to groom this baby. So since I'm here, I'm gonna make this baby my kid, and I'm going to write or send messages to these three magi, whatever, kings that I know, and we share certain views about the world. Otherwise, they could not have made it to Nazareth with the precision they did at the time they did it. These
All right, let
people
me
came from
ask you
afar.
this. Let me ask you
Uh-huh.
this. This is just a spin on this twist of theory.
Uh-huh.
Suppose when they came there to meet with Joseph, they said, "Here's a plan that we have for you. Here's what he's going to do. We're going to send you to Egypt to live," because the way I understand it, they went from Bethlehem to Egypt
Mm-hmm.
and lived
Yeah,
there
that's
for a
true.
few years and then back to Nazareth.
Mm-hmm.
Could it have been that?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Oh, I was thinking it was the opposite. Okay, I got you. I
No,
got
no,
you.
that's what I'm saying.
I
So
thought I
it's
thought you
like,
were like this. This is what I thought you were saying. This sounds really like I'm not trying to. I'm just
no,
gonna
no, go
say it.
ahead.
Okay, I'm just gonna say it in my elementary stance. That Joseph approached them with the idea of doing that, not that they
Mm-hmm.
showed up at the manger. Like,
Right, no, no. So imagine it like this. 50 years, well, Joseph was 40, so imagine 30 BC, 30 years prior.
Okay.
Joseph and the Magi are members of some sort of fraternity, if you will, right?
You're going hard on this.
No, I'm telling you. I mean, it's like, to me, it makes sense
Okay, I'm
because
listening.
there's no way of matching the belief of the three magi or the three kings that the Messiah had come and that they needed to follow a star to guide them to the place where this child had been born. Someone told them where to go. And the star is their navigation guide, whatever, right? So that they can go from whatever they are up to the Mediterranean Sea,
You got me wanting to write that down.
right?
All right.
So who told them?
All right. Who told them? Okay. So let me just insert this from my gleaning. The way that, okay, so you know where I'm getting this information from? I'll tell you my resource. The movie, the 6 hour movie, Jesus of Nazareth.
Okay, that's
Okay.
fair.
So he
It's a good
said,
account of what the Bible says. Yes.
okay. So he says, something like the three kings say they followed the star, not that anyone told them, but they were reading the astrology of the planets and saying this is going to be a major event, like I'm talking about right now, with
Mm-hmm.
what you said, what you were saying earlier about that little spot in the middle to be, and these planetary shifts with the quadrant, with they calling it Satan's quadrant. I'm saying quadrant, that's not the word, but it's how these are lining up like that. And then so an astrologer would say, oh, this is the brightest star that we know that something major is going to happen. Let's go there. But they would have to have known that they needed to go there for some reason. So was it the prediction from the Torah or whatever saying that this Messiah was going to be born and they were looking for the star to guide them to the place just from that writing?
I don't think so. I think it's more of a plot, finding a sign. Right? We're talking about a time where there were no computers. There's no, record of anything. The libraries are like tiny. Well, not tiny. They're few. Tiny. No, they're huge, but they're few. Um, so to me, this is my crazy mind. Um, I find that the three kings were told where to go.
Mhm.
And the sign that they were expecting came several years prior. So for them, it is kind of like the whole Pluto in retrograde, whatever, and the moon and, all this madness. Kind of like that. So they know that the time is in 40 years, give or take, we're going to find this thing to happen and we'll go.
Yeah.
So then someone, as soon as the baby is born, someone goes out and says, yo, that prediction, it's true. Let's roll. But that baby could have been born anywhere, anywhere, right? Because it's not about the place where the baby was born, it's about the baby being born.
Yeah.
So why is Nazareth, important? It could have been Bethlehem, right? You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's Jesus of Nazareth. It's not Jesus of Bethlehem because his family was from Nazareth. The Magi go to Nazareth, but Jesus was not there. He was born, well, his dad was kind of crazy and forgot to do like reservations. So he thought, you know what? Let's just go. Okay, whoops.
On a
Well, spent
donkey. It's long
right,
rod, pregnant.
right. And I think it's all about misconceptions. Oh, they
And
were going.
immaculate conceptions.
You see,
But on
I, I, I can go on that for on a
I,
tangent.
I
You know what I mean?
love this so much. There are no words.
But it's just, to me, is it just doesn't make any sense. I mean, again, The conspiracy theories, right? I take dogma and what's written as the way it's written. I don't interpret, right? Um, because I'm respectful of people's beliefs, and I do like, like the Catholic religion. I just don't believe in. Well, anyway, um, but the whole thing is, I cannot understand how someone needing to go to the census to get sentenced, right? Having a pregnant wife walks all the way down there in a donkey, knowing that this individual has a factory of furniture and can make freaking whatever. Why is it that they're caught in this incident so unprepared, so ill prepared? There's no like, well, they had such and such, how otherwise they were going to go to jail. I mean, if if that were the case, you'd
Yeah,
have
they already
one
had the
point.
wheel. The wheel was already invented. Huh? They could have made a wagon.
They could have gone with a wagon. I mean, most likely they had wagons at the time.
Makes me feel so much better. Makes me feel so much better.
We
I
have
can
cars.
picture on that little donkey, just miserable.
But you see what I'm saying? It's like,
Yeah.
and they end up in a barn with maybe that didn't even happen. But it's just a matter of saying this family is humble.
Mm-hmm.
But I honestly do not think that she gave birth by herself without a midwife in a barn. The risk of unaliving both for the mom and the child is tremendous. And something that culture knew about, pregnancies are super important.
So what's your theory on the whole? What are you saying?
Right. Well, go ahead.
That story's for just for humility, or
It's manipulation, right? It's just a twisted story. That not even the people that wrote the story know what happened. No one knows what happened. The only person that knows what happened, or the only people that knew what happened, were Joseph and Mary.
mm-hmm.
And Mary never wrote a book.
Yeah.
And Jesus never tells anyone about his beginnings.
Mm-hmm.
So where does the story come from?
What's your theory?
It's Joseph manipulating the whole thing, because you see how stuff ties up. So he opens up this weird. I mean, Mary is what? 15. She cannot say a word, right? It's like Jewish, it's like patriarchy. Women are like, it's like worth nothing. Um, so I think Joseph is the one that comes up with that story. But the reality is, I don't think that ever happened.
That would be pretty clever of him, huh?
Again, I think it's the only way that could have happened was just to, say, oh, wow, gee, this happened to us, right? To make it important, to make it noticeable, to make it whatever. Um, but I believe that indeed this child was groomed for a different purpose,
Which was what?
to lead a movement that could bring back the kingdom of David and displace the Romans from their ironclad rule.
But they crucified him.
Because the plan went haywire.
But that was the plan.
No, that was not the
In my
plan.
theory, yes.
Okay, your theory. Okay,
That's
good.
right. In my theory, that was the plan because he was an innocent man. And in the spirit world, it was perfect timing for this shift in matter. So these people got the realization after the fact that they did this to a person who didn't deserve that. And so then it started to have like a pivot and shift in air quotes karma, if you will, that they did something horribly wrong and went against kindness and love and peace in that movement. And then they realize that they can't fight their conscience, that their conscience will take them to hell or heaven, depending
Hmm.
on which route they choose and what they do and what they reap as what they sow. That's my theory.
Yeah, I like that. I like that theory because uh, so to me, the three kings and Joseph and whomever else was associated to those dudes, um,
The crew.
right, the crew, they were looking at something different, but destiny, if you will, um, God had a different plan,
Hmm.
like you're saying.
Yeah.
So I don't think the um, the three kings and Joseph predicted that Jesus was going to be crucified because Joseph dies way before he is crucified,
Hmm.
and the three kings allegedly were elder, quite elder, or old people, and there's no account of them surviving, but they travel quite far, right? Um, so I think that yeah, their motivation is different. The motivation is about reclaiming a crown, but that was not the plan.
Yeah, because in the small books of the Bible, toward the end of the Old Testament, it does talk about things like the sacrifice. And
Mm-hmm.
so that knowing, because one of my favorite parts, it took me a while to wrap myself around in that movie, is that when the Pharisees asked, wait, the Pharisees are the Jewish leaders, right? The Sadducees and the Pharisees. The Pharisees are the Jewish rabbis and all that.
They're just the rabbis, right?
Okay. When they had that meeting and they said, "Are you the Son of God?" And he said yes, and he ripped the rabbi ripped his coat. I believe that he knew that he was the rabbi in charge to have to make that decision to have him crucified, because that was the law. That's what they had to do when that happened. But they knew that when that happened, that was going to be the pivot in the spirit world, and that the kingdom is within. And that was when it was going to flip. So Judas unalives himself after his part in this play. And the rabbi does what? Dies of natural causes eventually. Correct.
Eventually, yes. That's
Because
how the story goes.
their belief in everything, that the miracles that were evident from the time of Yeshua's existence and what they were doing as miracle, all these bringing things back to life and restoring and all of that. Nobody had it in them at that time enough to believe that it's going to happen. Like if we going by what Lazarus, what happened with Lazarus, what he's still double perished. You know,
Mm-hmm.
he was resurrected, he was brought back to life, but what he perished again? At what point for what?
You see what
So
I'm saying?
it took years, okay, to this point to get to today for somebody like myself to believe that we're going to live and live life and life more abundantly as what the Messiah came here for. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I know I'm
No,
not the only one.
no. I don't challenge
I know you
what
don't.
you're saying.
Well,
Um, but how do I say this? I'll give you an example.
okay.
I think that Baron Trump is being groomed to be president of the United States. And when that happens, for him, the environment has been set so that he can rule as
The anti.
because it, whatever it is, I don't know. I cannot that far. I'm not gone, but the Bushes were groomed by their parents, right? Two siblings.
Joseph Groom.
right? JFK was right. So it's like um, George Senior groomed Jeb and George to be president, and Jeb could not make it because of Trump, because he was going to be the candidate, right? In 2016, when the primaries went, the first person that came up and people were like, yeah, is Jeb Bush, but done. The same thing happened with Mitt Romney. Jeb Bush was in the running, didn't cut it. Oh, it's low energy, he's boring, he's whatever. Um, JFK, his dad, was a senator. His dad groomed Jack Kennedy to be president because his dad also groomed Bobby Kennedy to be president. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it takes a next generation, right? It's a shame that there's such a jump between Trump and the kid. So it's going to be like one or two,
Tall too.
right?
Really tall. Really tall. In fact, tall, tall. Is that
And,
you that I heard say this before?
and another immaculate conception, who the hell knows? You know what I mean?
He's definitely tall. He fits that
Right?
other criteria for sure.
All of it, for real. And he actually looks like his mom,
He does look like his mom.
not a lot like his siblings. The siblings look like Donald Trump and Ivanka Trump. This child looks like Melania Trump, does not look like
He
Donald
looks like
Trump.
him. He does look like his mom. I agree with that. Well, we got it going. He says 6'5". Morningstar
Yeah, he's
says
6'5".
6'5". Wow.
He's super tall.
Yes, somebody said that, and then I Googled him to see, and I was like, oh my gosh, he's tall.
What? Yeah. I don't think he has Klinefelters though, but yeah.
It was.
It's good there. It's good, good conspiracy theory. That's what I'm gonna say. But
Because somebody else, if it wasn't you, somebody else said that they believe that he's being groomed because he's the Antichrist. And I said, so many things are Antichrist. Like just the Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee prayer is Antichrist. I mean, I hate to say it that way because I hate that it exists that way, but that's the movement. And that's what really, okay, that's a good point of interest for this for me. I figured
right, so I find that again, once again, these are conspiracy theories, just in case someone is like. So to me, the whole thing is Joseph tells a story to other people and it becomes vox populi. But no one really cares about Joseph's son. And Joseph so is grooming this child that this child is lost in the temple and he's arguing with rabbis at their same level. So somewhere he needed to. So kids of his age did not know how to read and write. They didn't. You had to be a Pharisee to learn how to read and write. People reject the idea that Jesus was a Pharisee. I think he was.
Mm-hmm.
I think he was.
Okay.
Um, because he knows how to read and write. He knows how to control do population control. He has the gift of the voice, so he can talk to people in a way that's charismatic that people understand. Just the same shit that the rabbis do. But this guy was not in the books. Was never ordained as a rabbi. Never went to school. Of course he did.
Yeah.
Of course he did. I mean, he spoke, Coptic, no, Nubian, because that was the people at the time. It was Nubian. No, it was actually Coptic, right? So he could speak Coptic and read it and freaking Sanskrit, whatever. This is a child that's being groomed for it.
Yeah.
But
They had no idea, really, what the truth was underneath it all.
they perish. The parents, the groomers, They're done. They move to a different plane of existence,
Yeah.
and they leave this kid alone in his 20s or his, late teens, right? What does he do? Where does he go? Who does he connect with? What does he work the factory, the shop, the carpenter thing? What's up with this guy?
Yeah.
I think that's when the story flips because there was no continuity, so for someone to tell him what to do and whatever. So, and if there were people, they failed miserably.
Yeah. For real.
Or maybe they were. Maybe he got the training. Maybe he got brainwashed and decided that, you know what, this is fucked up. This is not what I want. This is what it should be. I mean, there's myriad of possibilities, but to me, the concern is political because it's not a fabrication of government that this individual is a political agent. Everyone, even his own students, think the movement is about politics.
Yeah.
That's wild. I don't know.
Yeah.
I
And
love the
that's,
drama in my voice, even though
I
the
do too. I love it. All right. So I wrote this down Romans because that was the political, but that's not the point of that thing. We're not Christians. Oh, Catholic, that part.
right. Yeah, it's
So,
Christianism, not Christianity. It's Christianism. It's an ideology and a doctrine supported in dogma, right?
yeah.
It's something that is unfalsifiable.
Okay. And then Catholic is considered political.
It is the offshoot of the Roman Empire. Yeah, Catholic is when the religion becomes such. Christianism does not exist.
Hmm.
It's a set of beliefs and writings that Jews subscribe to, and based on Paul de Tarsus' letters, right, or Saul de Tarsus' letter, Saint Paul, um, he engages Greek people 100 years later, after Jeshua has perished. So again, Paul never met Jesus, yet Paul hires a person to write 3 of the 4 books. Saint Peter was not there to write that book because
That's
Peter did not know how to read or write.
really now. Oh, that makes so much sense with that part.
So someone wrote it for him or on his behalf.
And
But
he was the father, really, of Catholicism, Peter. Yeah.
he was never
That's
there.
why, okay, that's why he wanted to be crucified upside down. In another symbolism, like backwards for me, like getting rid of symbolism, okay? But synchronicities, like when I dove off into when I got my call for the Call of Duty, when I got deployed, so to speak, for this war 8 years ago, I was trained for it my whole life. Um, the word I got was backwards, and that when we talk about religions, all of them that teach that you're going to perish at some point for any reason is anti what the Messiah came here for, because he came here for humanity to be able to live in their human flesh on this planet that we were created to reside on.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, I
It's
love it.
wild.
I love it. Okay. And so that's why Peter got the realization. And see, Paul, I had a problem with Paul, and this is how I knew Paul was real, because I was like, man, he is like haughty. He's a little. And then I realized through what I lived through when I got that call and awakening, that there was like no choice, not for me, as my integrity, as who I am, that I have
Mhm.
to execute this mission because it's the only way out. I don't
It's
want
just,
out through unaliving. I want out through living my best life.
yes, that's the mission.
Yeah.
You got it. You got it, girl.
Ah, yes, indeed. Makes
Um,
me want to take a road trip just for fun.
just for fun. I'm telling you. And to me, it mortifies me, right? Something as simple as what you just as what you just said takes us so many years to recognize, to realize, and to practice. You know,
It's
it's like,
difficult. As much as I say it and I know it, this is why I tell you I went to hell a lot because I can look at just, I'll use the dogs for an example.
mhm.
I know that dogs are God spelled backwards. I know that dogs are loving. I know that they love you no matter what. I know all of these amazing, wonderful things about them. And I do. I adore them and I love them. But I'm going to tell you something. When you got to take care of a dog that's not yours and you need to do it right because it's the right thing to do, and you do love them dearly, but they whine, they shit, they piss, and they want their way because they're spoiled. And then whenever they hear a bag crumple, they're right there. And you can't, I know. And you have to say, get out the bathroom every time you go. And you have to stay out the kitchen every time you're sitting down just trying to rest. It will make you question yourself, especially when that triggers you into, I was so exhausted from my life, from needing to process trauma and my children and people kicking me while I was down, and I had to let go. And all of that went away. But here I am having to bring love forward for these dogs and count it as a gift because I know it is, because it's opening my heart.
Yes.
It's helping me to come back to that, but simultaneously almost resenting that it's a dog and there's dog hair everywhere instead of it's my baby that didn't never snore in the middle of the night like this dog does.
Oh my God,
It
I
took
had a
me
similar
90 pounds.
experience. Oh my God,
So
that
it's not
dog.
easy being
Yeah.
cheesy, okay? It's not easy to do. Because when I tell you it's real serious, inside of my heart, I'm picking up dog shit in the yard. Thank goodness my neighbor has a dog picker upper, shit picker upper with a stick on it with a little rake. But they heard me go from, oh, just when I tell you I can't even be that nasty on here. Okay. She said brush them. I have the brush, honey. They double teaming me with their both of them shedding, okay? And these short haired dogs, it's crazy. I'm going crazy, but not anymore. I'm bypassing it. You know,
Hilarious.
they
Oh my
hear me.
God.
Yeah. So I'm in the yard. My neighbors, I know they hear me hollering. Dog shit. All they can hear probably is dog shit. That's all I'm saying is dog shit, dog shit, dog shit, and words in between. Okay. And then like it progressed over time. And now I'm like, oh, what a privilege it is to pick up dog shit in the yard.
Totally.
How
Oh
blessed
my
I am to
God.
have dog shit in the yard. I mean, I have legs to walk and pick up the dog shit in the yard. You know, I'm just like a total different ball game after
I'm
this.
telling you.
But it was a heart purification.
Well, I tell you, I mean, it's like I had, and I miss my dog like you have no idea,
No,
right?
look, I'm like, oh,
He is amazing. I mean, it's a rescue dog. He is trained and he was not abandoned. He just got lost and they couldn't connect him back to his
yeah,
owner. And he was beautiful, gorgeous. Um, and yeah, he would just, you would go into the bathroom and he would be at that door and you could see, and putting his paws on there. It's like, let me in, let me in. It's like, go away.
no,
It's a shoe. It's like a kid.
it's really,
Everything that you're saying, but it got so bad that we even hired a service to pick up after him
yeah.
because it was like nonstop, nonstop, nonstop. It's like, listen, if we're working, if I'm out, because he went all over the place, right? We did not have an invisible fence. Smokey was trained not to leave the house. It
Good.
was that good.
Heck yeah.
So he would, get back home from work, and he would be there at the garage door, just
Just
waiting.
waiting. You left me here all day.
The
Where's
little
my
tail.
chain? Where's my chain?
It's like, I mean, how can you hate something like that? And it's like, all right, bro, come on, let's go. You know, it was awesome.
I love it.
Such a pain.
I found out the tail wagging was a good thing because I was like, I don't even know what's happening right now. They're like, well, the tail's wagging. That's a good thing.
They're happy.
I'm like,
Like
okay.
they're happy. I'm like, yeah, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. So for sure, it took a minute. And I would be like, tell in the bathroom with my baby. My kids, I had a lot of kids. I raised them for a long time by myself and I worked. Okay. So I had the right to be tired. I was tired. I love my babies. But at the same time, can I just take a bath? Nope. They was in there. They was sitting. There was a whole thing. And I do not regret it at all. But I was tired. And when I think back about them now, I'm like, can you believe I'm actually doing this with dogs and not my children? I cannot. I'm
It's
like
like,
hoping for that immaculate conception. Like I want
I'm telling you,
children.
lady. Yeah, I know. Hilarious.
Oh my God.
So funny.
Okay. Making progress. Oh wait, here we go. Black Moon and Black Moon Lilith are pinpoint conjunct and it's a full moon. Oh girl, yes. Okay, so Bryn. Oh my gosh. Wowza. Am I allowed to use that for my edit? Best edit ever.
Oh, God.
So, I told you guys why the dogs are with you in the bathroom. They're protecting you. Oh, I know. They look. They go against each other for me. Okay, they love their Mimi. Me and their mama get into it. They backing her up. They
It's
like
like,
they getting her away from their Mimi, and I'm just standing there with my hands on my hip like she did when she was 3, telling me no.
yeah,
Okay,
that's
so
literally, yeah.
Bryn's talking about that thing. Okay, so Bryn, what's the one with the Satan? I mean, the devil, Satan, the triangle that's happening. Is that what you're talking about right now? With the moon, black moon and black moon Lilith are pinpoint conjunct, and it's a full moon. No, girl. I think that's what I'm talking about. He'll know the name of it. What I was trying to think of the name to tell you, but I know that it's in TikTok. The guy that has that clip, and I'll just tag you in it.
Yeah, that'd be nice. So I can
You'll
read it.
you'll find that
Or,
interesting.
yeah, or see it, whatever. But yeah. The one thing that actually aggravates me is when um, people just, because I've heard that several times. Oh, I have to deal. I mean, every time I go into TikTok or social media, I have to deal with all these people that are saying all these stupid things, like blah 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 blah. And I'm like, bro, really? I mean, can you just go with the flow, try to engage and learn something new and
Yeah,
enjoy the experience that other people are having? I mean, you're a piece of junk, but I don't judge.
I can't stay. I'll be gone in a heartbeat when that starts happening.
You
It
know, it's
just,
like,
ooh,
geez.
I'm like, no, I can't do it. I can't.
And they're good people, right? But it's like, listen, I understand you're a scientist, I understand you're a physicist, I understand you're, molecular biologist, whatever, and blah blah blah.
That ain't all there is.
But just vibe, man. Just go with the flow. Just vibe. Enjoy life. Enjoy people's experiences. So to me, you know what's amazing? Being able to experience your joy.
That's a miracle.
That's I I love it.
When I'm telling you right now, I couldn't even sing. My throat chakra, I was shut down so bad. I had so much pain inside of me. I could not sing. It was horrible. It was hell. It was my version of hell. You hear me? I couldn't do nothing. And I remember I couldn't even find a flower to know, not even had a flower around me. I said, will you please restore my joy? Like I was really just praying to feel any kind of joy at all inside of my heart again. And I'm gleaning it from everywhere, but that one spot, like that final veil breaking, so to speak, in that's coming, has not released itself yet. And I'm actively working on it every day. But it's the centermost part, and I know that it's the fullness of that spot you were talking about, like not having anything weighing on that, no scar tissue or anything around that little pointed spot to be free.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like so many. I don't want to say years of neglect, but I want to say years of neglect, right? So much time, not years, so much time, um, being punished or allowing people to punish us, um, seeing that we don't have like a way out. I mean, I survived a narcissist, like a toxic narcissist. This was like insane. After 27 years.
Damn. It's a long time for that.
It is a long time. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it's like sometimes I just don't see light. For some people, it's a miracle after 30 years, being able to break away. Wow, that's amazing. Um, but for other people, it's like, it's a Calvary. It's like going up that, you know, mountain with this giant cross on your back and just like dragging it, right? And yet that's what we know as happiness or what life
Yeah.
should be. It's like fucked up.
That's why I ask you about thought and imagination, because if I never knew love in my mind, I've only seen it like reading a book in the Berenstain Bears or something, that kind of knowing it. Like, how do I imagine it when my physiological whole self experienced complete frozenness from, fight or flight, can't flight, frozenness, fawning don't work because you don't know how to be that vulnerable. Like, diminished as a human being, like beast mode. When you say beast mode, there's two forms of it. They're like beast mode, yeah, and then the other form is like the mark of the beast. Like you're so broken in your nervous system that you're animalistic, dehumanized to that point.
Completely dehumanized,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, completely dehumanized. That's bringing memories of psychotherapy or psychotherapy memories, right? Being dehumanized by the person that you love.
And that's supposed to love you. Yeah.
That's messed up.
Do you want to open